Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm Ronnie, and I'm a busy local blogger who's personally been invited to explore Post, a hip new downtown cultural campus right here in Houston for their grand opening ceremony. Just kidding, I'm not a blogger. Post has been my client since August, and we've been working diligently to conclude whether or not Post would serve as a practical reflection of the city's climate change initiatives. Breathing new life into the historic Barbara Jordan Post Office, the building itself is essentially sustainable. It's upcycled. And a new opportunity to provide the community with a fresh take on retail that will meet the needs of the future. So without further ado, take a trip with me to Post while I go over the results of the collaboration. Okay, so this is what you may see when you're outside walking into the building. This is one of many first floor entrances to Post. And this is a first-hand look at their food court. Very cool, very cyberpunk. Okay, so now for our domain. So this was an exploratory project that raised the question, despite large corporate entities being the leading contributors to climate change, will coming together as a city to create, utilize, and normalize community-based climate efforts make a positive impact on the city's future? So that's something to keep in mind. As a brand new community hub that thrives on innovation and diversity of ideas, Post felt like a great candidate for answering the following question. The geographic scope for my project is, of course, Houston, and as for my time horizon, my H1 is 2025, H2 is 2030, H3 is 2030 and beyond. So we're looking into the near future for our results. And here is my domain map. I'm still in the process of editing this, but I still wanted to share because it features categories that I associated with climate-based initiatives, and it was used as a reference in determining if these categories can be featured by Post somehow. To get a better understanding of my domain, I researched the conditions, stakeholders, and any recent history that I was able to spot. For my conditions, I referenced Houston's Climate Action Plan, though in the future, I understand the importance of diversifying my sources. Topics from the action plan that I felt were relevant to Post include small business ownership, clean energy, and waste management. I couldn't find any stakeholders for Post, so initially I made the assumption that local nonprofits, local private sectors, and a local clean energy company would take interest. Recent events that I felt were relevant to Post include, but isn't limited to, the City of Houston agreeing to renovate a landfill in Sunnyside to a solar farm to provide a low-carbon solution to energy use for the city, scheduled to begin this year, and talks about the benefits of a circular economy. Okay, so on to my scan hits. My scan hits were on 5 topics that I felt were relevant to my domain, and that includes 2 articles on cultural appreciation, the aesthetics of solar punk, the circular economy, and accessibility to an environmentally sustainable lifestyle. And also, fun fact about the food court, I ordered some food and I noticed that all the food in the food court seemed to be placed on reusable plates and utensils and silverware. So that might be an example of the circular economy actually coming into play in real life. This is just me going up the stairs to the 3rd floor, which leads to the Sky Lawn. It's a rooftop garden. As far as I know of, the 2nd floor is going to be reserved for workspaces, so you could spend your workday here if you just need a break from your house. And this is the Sky Lawn. Now, onto my questionnaire results. I really enjoyed this part of my research because it gave me insight into how everyday people feel about community-based climate action in order to determine if a conscious consumer approach would be an ideal direction for my client to move towards. I asked people of different age groups and occupation. I asked questions such as, how confident are you in believing that there is power in numbers when combating climate change? Or, how confidently do you think that a community hub, a prominent location where locals can socialize and engage in eco-friendly, mall-like experience, will be an effective response to climate change on a local scale? So as a result, the responses in the questionnaire confirm that Post does in fact have the potential to become a community hub that reflects the climate change initiatives of the city through the experience that they plan to offer to their guests. For my future inputs, my trends focused on looking into consumer behavior for future consumers, what they might be interested in, what they would like to see more from the companies that they support. Are these companies aligning with their personal morals, for example? And for my issues, I looked into city-based concerns such as, for example, one of the bullet points was, will metropolitan cities such as Houston be able to meet their goals before the effects of climate change begin to increase? So that's something that I was concerned about. Plans and projections I looked into were based on the stakeholders that I focused on at the time, which were based on Houston's climate action plan, the stakeholders that involved in that project, such as the Nature Conservancy, which, as you can see from all this beautiful foliage, the Nature Conservancy would have a good place in becoming a stakeholder for Post. And then fun fact, if you saw me walk off to the side there in the video, I noticed that there are little fun facts throughout the garden where it explained how the plants in the forest are, not the forest, the garden are local to the community. So the whole purpose of this garden format is that it's intended to work with the environment rather than against it, as well as the energy being used, such as the lights that you see there off to the right. They're all LED and sustainably sourced. As for my baseline in alternative future, my baseline focused on a future dedicated to providing a state-of-the-art shopping center, intending to reflect the future of retail and entertainment for the Houston community, which is clearly the key goal that Post is trying to accomplish. Rather, my alternative future represented a community center primarily focused on sustainability. So though Post does show an interest in the environment, as you can see by this rooftop garden, which is also intended to provide the community as well. I know they're going to be growing foods somewhere on the garden in the near future. But yes, so though they express interest in sustainability, it's not their main focus. But that's what my alternative future would be about, is a community center that is just all about creating an accessible location to live a more eco-conscious lifestyle. For my implications analysis, my futures wheels were created to give further insight into my baseline future. And the three implications I felt represented the baseline are: number one, updating the in-person retailing experience; number two, behind the scenes administration; and number three, catering to a new type of consumer. I gathered my information based on news reports that were posted about Post and updates that the company has shared with the public. My implications are listed here, with the most important implication representing sustaining a competitive edge, and my provocative implications focusing on marketing and infrastructure concerns. My most important issue is making sure that Post doesn't spread themselves too thin with ideas, and my most provocative issue is establishing credibility. So to keep Post from spreading themselves thin, I felt that the best response is to analyze the success of the company's features before expanding on them, which means getting feedback from the customers, for example. This is important because relying on positive feedback from guests will give Post the insight into figuring out what aspects of the center need to be prioritized and which parts need to be left alone. There is a lot going on in one building, so we want to make sure that we don't overwhelm guests with extension options. Oops, I meant extensive. To establish credibility beyond the local community, the company should do extensive research into finding what consumers outside of the Houston area find to be appealing, marketing to specific niches, and analyzing potential competitors. Post is already getting a lot of buzz within the Houston area. However, Frank Liu, president of Love It Commercial, which is responsible for owning Post, wants the company to be a destination for travelers as well. Therefore, it's important to create an experience that will draw attention outside of the community to maximize profits. So in conclusion, Post is still a new company with a lot of great potential. After finding their footing as an established business, Then the company can prioritize collaborations with local government or any other stakeholders that have climate-based goals to incorporate into their guest experience. If incorporating sustainability into the company's features translates into positive feedback from guests, stakeholders, or whoever else, then other major sustainable cities or major cities who express interest in environmental sustainability can use Post as a source of inspiration for establishing community hubs in their area as well.